probably heard of the tragedy at Penn State where a 19-year-old pledge, Timothy Piazza, died during a hazing event where the pledges were forced to drink copious amounts of alcohol in a 2-minute period. They called it the gauntlet, and he died as a result of that and subsequent events. And now 18 of his fraternity brothers are now charged facing nearly 1,000 charges, including manslaughter. So let's take a look at alcohol poisoning, because we've heard of this multiple times. You see it in children, unfortunately, who are younger than drinking age, and it happens when you're drinking just way too much alcohol than your body can really handle.
And there's no set level of alcohol that people can consume because there's so many factors that actually will determine how much is actually absorbed into your body. So for some people, they may drink one drink and they're affected by that. And for others, it may be more than that. So for some people, it's the amount of food that they've eaten before they've actually started to consume the alcohol. For other people, it depends upon their body weight. It may depend upon whether they're male or female. For females, they don't have as much of a particular enzyme in their stomach called alcohol dehydrogenase, and that basically breaks down the amount of alcohol that they're actually absorbing into their body. So their blood alcohol concentration may be much greater than a male who has consumed the same amount. So for instance, you will basically, if you had, say, one beer, you're probably at 0.01, 0.02. 2 beers, you're probably up to 0.03, 0.04. And at 3 beers or 4 beers, now you're going to be into that area that it's 0.08. And that 0.08 is a critical level because that's where you will be determined, under the influence. So if you get stopped, you're going to be arrested if you have more than 0.08. So the other thing is you might get to the point where you're taking 6 beers, 7 beers, and then you're going to get into that stage where you're alcohol poisoning. And so that's where you're going to develop a lot of these other symptoms. You're going to have the vomiting, you're going to have the unconsciousness, you're probably going to even potentially be into that trouble breathing, and your heart rate's going to be slowed down. You're going to develop seizures. So that's a level that you have to be particularly careful of. And if you get to that point, your blood alcohol level is probably going to be in the range of 0.3 to 0.4. So if you take that all the way back to, say, one beer at 0.01 or 0.02, that's a big difference.
So is this the point, though, where someone's not able to help themselves and someone else needs to jump in and get them help?
Absolutely. So basically, if they get to that point where they have alcohol poisoning and their judgment is impaired, their breathing isn't right, their heart rate has slowed down, they develop hypothermia where they have chills and they're very cold, then that's when someone has to call 911 because you're not going to be able to walk them around. You're not going to be able to put them into a shower. You're not going to be able to feed them anything that's going to get them to sober up. And if they become unconscious, they're in trouble. You have to call 911 at that point. You can't just wait it out and see if they're going to sober up and you're going to be able to do something for them. It takes about 1 hour for one drink, to actually get out of the system. And whether it's beer or wine, and the amount of alcohol in 5 ounces of wine equals the amount in 12 ounces of beer. Or say if it's vodka, then it's 1.5 ounces of, say, vodka or hard alcohol is going to be the equivalency of, say, 1 beer or 5 ounces of wine as well.
You were saying all those other things are really myths, like, oh, we'll just get you a cup of coffee, we'll put you in a cold shower, we'll walk you around.
Yeah, and people often, mistaken, the old wives' tale that this is something that's going to sober somebody up and they're going to be okay, but that's not the case. It's much more serious than that, and if they get to that point where you see them vomiting and not breathing well and they become unconscious, you got to call 911, even if you think they have not drank that much alcohol, because everybody is affected much differently when they consume alcohol and how fast they've consumed it. Yeah. So if you've consumed 1 beer over the course of an hour, well, that's probably okay because your body's going to metabolize that and get that out of the system. But if you've taken 5 beers in that same hour, you're in trouble.
But what's that telltale sign, though, that we know you're not just drunk, you're not just tipsy, you're like in a health like a life-threatening situation.
Right. I think at the point that they become unconscious, at the point at where they, they cannot control anything. They can't control their urination. They can't control their bowels. I mean, all of those are signs that they're having real trouble with controlling anything in their system. So I think at that point you have to call 911. And even if you're in doubt, I say call 911. Don't take the chance that they're going to be sobered up because you just walked them around or gave them a bunch of coffee to try to get them over it.
Which doesn't work.
It does not work.
No.
It does not work. Yeah.
Okay.
So at the end of the day, it's all about limiting your alcohol. Don't drink and drive is my final message.
Yes, that's always the case, no matter how much you think you're
dangerous to your health.
Right.
Yes.
And others too.
And others
All right.
as well.
Thanks, Dr. Art. Good seeing you.
Good to see you.